We have somebody from Garden.
Now,
Vetted it in line. Did you, did you guys see that?
How much I can get?
he did.
You got both? I got everything. I got the whole info. Well, wait a minute, there's one, each.
Let's start at the very beginning.
We're ready. Okay, all finance to order, motion to accept the July 10 minutes, moved by Jim, second by Sue. Any discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Treasurer monthly reports.
Everybody got their packets in front of them. Couple of things real quick. I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on the packet, but I do want to go over a couple things with you that I think are important. I feel on some levels, and this is gonna be the hit by a bus moment. I feel on some levels, I let you down last year because as I listened to Mr. Campbell talk about what happened with social services, I feel like once we had the take back that we knew about the first week in August, I probably should have been a little bit more diligent myself. So I'm gonna take a little bit, mea culpa. I've reviewed my own internal processes on what and how I report to you, right? Because we really didn't bring onto your radar until about March of this year how truly bad the financial picture was. And we saw the flicker of fire the first week in August, while you were still building the 25 budget. So, I'm gonna start my presentation today with an apology because I feel on some level, as your CFO, I should have been better in front of that bus. And we're gonna try to do better as we approach the 26th budget. I will show you that on the first page, the sales tax, we did get another drop again. What scared me and Brian a little bit about that drop, if our schedule is right that we have, that's a reconciliation payment. So on reconciliation payments, they're more scary to me because that's where the state has taken the actual reports from the sales tax collectors and said, okay, Washington County, we thought you were gonna get X, you got Y. Right, so reconciliation payment is more scary to me because it's not a guess, it's based on actual returns. So if those actual returns for the quarter were down 130,000, let's hope that's not our new norm. We also don't know yet the impact on the short-term rental sales tax collection. I'm hoping that they may hide a larger, they may mask a larger problem, right? So what if our sales tax is trending down 5%, we may in fact not see it because of the short-term rental sales tax revenues. So it'll be interesting to see how those two play. I mean, at the end of the day, we really want to at least make budget, right? I of course selfishly like to exceed budget, but we need to at least make budget. Because remember, this year we appropriated 3.2 million or something, right, Brian,
Three point five.
to even make this budget work. So any place that you miss on revenues, you've made that 3.5 bigger, and that's not a position that we're in. I will, on the next page,
Yeah, sure. There was an article in the Post-Star on different counties' sales tax and so on. Warren was down like 3% for the year.
Yeah.
And we happen to be up.
not gonna,
We were one of the few counties.
we
in the
are one of
state
the
that
few
was up.
in the state.
And part of that is because we don't have places to buy. Everybody buys online. Whereas other areas, they lose on where the customer shops. With all ours online, we stay a little more consistent. It's just if they're out of money and the credit card's full is what'll kill ours. That's really gonna be the end game.
If you start looking at the 2023, 2024, 2025 amounts that we received, and look at the downward trend of sales tax. I mean, that's a substantial difference, 470 compared to 730, 861, 706. There's a real downward trend there in the sales tax. Washington.
Well, it's gone up every year, so are you talking on this year?
Talking about where we're at right now, 470, 625, right? In 2025, at the same time, was 730, 982.
Oh, that we were up for the year. Yeah, but we're still growing, so that's the good news. Cause that's over and above see, we're at 15.1, which is the highest we've had ever at this point in time. If you doubled that, we'd be at 30 million too. So I don't know that that'll happen. I'm just hope we make the 29.5 we're budgeted at this moment, cause there's so many unknowns.
Yes, so the 470 is or under.
It's over
It's
last year.
15. You wanna look
Right, right, that's what I'm looking at, is over.
It's not growing as fast, but it's still growing. That's what's good.
That's what I'm saying, it's still growing, it's still a positive.
Yeah.
But if you look at that positive, and in 2025, there was positive. 2024, there was a positive, I'm saying that there's a difference in elections.
Yeah.
And it's not the same.
Well, just quick question, you
Yes.
probably can't answer it, the 130. That they must overestimate and we came in under, do you think that? Two things, do you think we're really starting to get caught up with the lack of cash flow that was coming from all the Comstock employees that is affecting that? And or the drop in fuel prices because now we're getting less money on every gallon of fuel.
So I can definitely confirm parenthetically that gas prices are definitely part of the drop, right? Because while each one of us as a taxpayer loves to go pay, 303 at the pump. There's a significant sales tax difference from when it was 357, right? Which wasn't all that long ago. So yes, the thing that's unfortunate for you all is the reports that I can get from the state are 2 months behind or 2 quarters behind. So I won't know which category decreased for second quarter of 25 until January of 26, which then is of no use to any of you. Right? So I do still try to get twice a year, I do bring that report to you where your top 20 is. Auto sales is still consistently your number one driver. There's some fluctuation within the top 10, but auto sales in Washington County continues to be the number one driver, even with some of the dealerships that left, it still is your number one driver.
And I think where Sue went was very interesting, cause I was looking at it a little differently than she was, but the 730 is actually higher than the 23 number. And what's interesting there is that 23 number, if you follow down to the bottom, is what we budgeted. So if every number exceeds what we did in 23, we will hit budget. Which is kind of a nice way to be able to follow it.
And in 22, it was 579,000. I just brought my sheet up
Yeah.
on the computer, so
So
we've
it's,
gone from 579 in 22 to 861 in 25. So we've
So
seen
the,
growth.
the anomaly was last year. Yeah.
You just have to remember the measurement on this sheet in front of you is how much this deposit was plus or minus the same deposit last year.
Right.
The most important column is the very last column. How are you doing year to date over last year, right? That's the one that I really need you to keep your eye on the prize, so to speak.
Number 23, we're $1 million up.
You can't tell from your sheet what we were.
Yeah,
Doing quick
yeah,
math
you
in your
can.
head.
I do good math in my head.
No, it's right there, 14.
14,369 versus 13.3.
Any other sales tax questions? The bad news is by the time I know anything, it's too late for you to be effective and
Which was the same with DSS, right? Same idea.
with the, one of the conversations I want to take a minute to have with you, because it's one of the uncomfortable ones. The first time since 2012, I've had this conversation with you. The next page in your book is your cash balances. Couple of pieces of bad news. Our cash holdings today compared to the same time last year are down 7.7 million in general fund. Your so take fund balance, rev expense, take all that stuff out of the equation. And let me talk to you in very clear, concise, what would I do at home conversation. My cash position is $7.7 million worse than it was this same time last year. At the same time, ICS has been reduced. Your sheet says 4.9. The sheet I got this morning, it's down to 4.14. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm still grateful to have the 4.14% on our investment. I try to maximize that the best I can. But at the end of the day, that $7.7 million less in cash is one of those things that keeps me up at night, because I still have to make sure you all make it from now until, like Brian said, you start getting made whole by the towns in February. You got a long stretch ahead of you still. Here's something that I want to talk to you about. You need to interrupt me.
I was wondering if Marcia had paid us at this time last year, if that's part of that difference, but
I could look into that.
okay,
I
'cause
know we
that
do.
might be necessary.
We do still have a large outstanding.
Yeah.
One of the things that I wanted to talk to you that's related to this cash sheet. Another piece of bad news was delivered a couple weeks ago. The state gave us our estimate for this year's retirement bill. And without going off on a tangent and looking like a raving maniac, I have no idea why the comptroller, whose fund grew, felt the need to increase our rates. We're now paying 19.5% on tier 4s. And we're going to be paying 12.7% on tier 6. We were at like 9 on our tier 6s. I can't for the life of me understand, if you're earning 7 and paying out 3, your net gain to the fund is 4. Why you need to increase your fund on the backs of the counties? If you were paying out 4 and made 3, I got you, right? I'll make up your difference. I don't understand when your fund grows to 98% funded or whatever you're claiming these days. And think about what 98% funded means. It means if we close down every county today, everybody who's eligible for retirement, 98% of them, we already have the money to pay their retirement. That's what 98% funded means. Think about that. Right now, 98% of the workforce in New York State, we can already pay their retirement if we close down shop today. Now, do we want to be like 70%, like some of the counties in other states where they basically went bankrupt or in the receivership? No. But please don't come to the county when we're in a fiscal crisis through your unfunded mandates and give me an increase in my retirement rates at a year where you grew your fund. It's not okay. I say that to say this. Our bill came in this year at $6.2 million. Biggest bill I've seen in my career, obviously. When I looked at So the cash on hand in 2024 on this date was 28.9 million, and we ended the year at 8.5. If that same trend in cash flow was to continue, it would leave me $800,000 in the bank on December 31st to try to make it to February. That obviously is not something that I can even entertain. So what I'm letting the board know in advance, and you don't need to take any action on this, this is a discretionary thing that I'm going to share with you. I don't think I'm going to have a choice this year. We always pay our retirement bill on December 15th because there's a early payment credit that you get, right? The difference between the December 15th payment and the February 1st payment for Washington County is $44,000. That's how much more it will cost me in February. At 4.14%, if I'm able to keep that money invested, I'll get 33.5. So it'll cost the county 10,000 to make sure that we can make payroll and everything without any kind of short-term borrowing or loans or anything like that. So cash flow wise, I think I'm gonna have to make the very uncomfortable decision for the first time to pay our bill in February. I don't know that paying it in December is the right thing to do for the county. Dave,
So you haven't looked at your estimated on IRA, on the retirement side? Mine went up by 30%. $10,000 more than I budgeted. Not a lot, but it's a big impact. So I
between
suggest you all look at the same thing.
now and the end of the year, Ryan and I are gonna come back to you because we already know based on this estimate. If this estimate holds, and usually by the time I get this one, this is pretty firm. Our 2025 budget is $118,000 short, so we already know we're short this year. And then we have to work some kind of magic crystal ball on what we think he's gonna do to us next year, because remember with the retirement bill, it's an April 1st to March 31st bill. So we're gambling next in September when we have budget meetings. We're gambling on what he's gonna do next December because 75% of next December's bill is charged to the 25 budget.
And they're gonna be.
I don't envy Mr. Campbell or the board having to try to,
We may have an advantage on that. Cause that increase he did also went to the state. The state's gonna want that money. They will force him to not raise rates to save it in the state budget.
at some point there has to be pushback. At some point there has to be.
And I think that's probably what was bad in mind.
You have to remember when, and I'm aging myself a little bit, but when I came to Washington County, our retirement bill was $54,000.
Yeah.
I have the
That was
history.
50 years ago.
I have the history. It was $54,000 when I started here at the county.
No, mine,
It's now just, yeah,
just residents.
just, so it's, and I understand that 54,000 isn't a realistic number for today. But 6.2 million on a county whose budget's only 110 or whatever we're up to now.
Yeah.
I just,
Retirement benefits aren't.
and again, I have a bigger problem with an increase on our back on a year with a fund group, right? If you paid out 4 and made 3, yes, we should make up the one gap. I'll do that all day long. I'll fund your gap all day long. But I struggle with the legitimacy of why the increase.
And he wouldn't budgeted the right amount for our retirement.
For you.
So I just, that was
You're a
the,
newbie.
that was the first of the conversations that Mr. Hahn.
I'm a big fan of pushback. Can we, there's something that we can send to the comptroller's office saying, why are you ripping us off? Is there something we can do as a board to kind of stand up against this?
You can, his response will be, we paid actuaries to create a report. And this is what the report said I had to do. He won't take ownership.
We've been there before. We've done it a couple times.
Tell them to hire.
So the guy that,
Building it up.
the guy that he pays or gal that he pays, makes the decision for us.
So so the state hires an outside firm to look at to basically look at the value of the funds and project how healthy it is in the out years. And they make certain assumptions. And remember too, they say that there's a 5-year smoothing. I'm not sure that's entirely true, because what they do is they look at the holdings of the fund on March 31st. Now, any of you that has any kind of stock portfolio might remember that on March 31st, you were probably having heart palpitations, but 10 slim days later,
Tariffs.
you were made whole. So I'm not sure this year's March 31st measurement date was very kind to us, or was kind to
Seems
the
like every year it's the same though. March 31st.
But it seems like March
down there.
31st every year seems to be a
Yeah.
downturn magically. But again, I brought that to you because I believe for the first time, I'm going to have to defer the retirement bill to February. If I don't have to, when things change, I will definitely let you know. But I want you all to know in advance that might be the position we're in, because I know that you're used to me banging the drum about fund balance. What you're not used to me banging the drum about is how the fund balance is in relationship to cash. Because now we're there. Because the other thing that scares me a little bit is technically, you should never mix reserve cash with operational cash, right? So out of that 21 million that we have at hand right now, there's probably 2.5 million of that. It's money that we shouldn't ever be touching. Reserve cash should never be mixed with operations ever, right? So the December bill payment might not be a thing.
So, understanding that, question is that looking forward to next year, is there still talk about modifying tier 6?
I think, I can't prove this, but my guess is some of that's already built in here. Because they went from 9 to 12.8, I think that some of that correction might have already been built in.
And what about the tier 4? That went from,
Tier 4 went from
About 10%.
18 to 19.5, something like
Yeah.
that. I don't have last year's number in front of me, but it went up
they're gonna
a
make
point and a half.
tier 6, then mirror tier 4, that would make sense.
Well, this might be the first step into that.
First step in.
So
So it's gonna be the first padding, but,
So they might not be done, Mr. Bryan, to your point. Is also correct.
so we got more to look forward to next year.
There's a high probability that they're not done.
And this is the week that reconciliation last year took place on the Title 20 money that this first, we saw the downturn. It was the money from 23 that showed up on 24's. It was $777,000. We don't know if that's gonna happen again. We believe it has to happen again. We have no idea if that's true or not. That could be 1 million, could be 3 million, could be 0. We have to wait and see when the reconciliation gets entered. We'll know, probably after the board meeting, I would guess, maybe before that.
Because even if we change direction this time last year when we knew about
It
it,
won't change 20.
it would already been too late. So there's still one more reconciliation for the ceiling that's coming for the period ending September 2024. Again, to Brian's point, that reconciliation could be 0, it could be $5.
And they
It
actually,
could be 1.2 million.
and they actually took 600,000 on the December reconciliation in the same area for that current year. So maybe our changes have helped a little bit on this year, we don't know. But the big one is gonna be this one that just happened, and we will know that at least ahead of putting the budget together.
The other thing that I had for you this morning is, and it's really a continuation of the conversation you already started today. I am afraid, and hopefully wrongly afraid, I will definitely be stressing some of my board relationships this year. I have done everything in my power to bring you the numbers I know. I've done everything in my power to try to help you with your questions. But I feel, and I love what Supervisor Nolan said at the board meeting. If you're not gonna do anything about it, stop talking about it, to paraphrase what he said. I'm going to be a little bit more vocal this year than you're used to, and I know that seems impossible to some of you. But I can't sit here this year and not. Brian hasn't had a whole lot of support from me yet, and he needs it. Because he's not wrong. I've brought for 4 years, so. We get so caught up in personalities and feelings and, oh my God, we don't want to make this department head mad. I'm sorry. We're going to make some people mad. If anybody's happy after this year's budget, we haven't done our job. We continue to keep kicking the can on, can we downsize our carpool? I'm still waiting for somebody willing to have that conversation. I even presented a plan to bring the DSS cars from 14 to 11 over 3 years. With the ability to stop it if I'm wrong. So if you only take 1 car a year, if I'm wrong, you can stop the program and not take the other 2. We continue to make excuses why we need all of the fleet cars that we have. We don't. I promise you we don't. We continue to be told that the best thing for the county is that we continue buying 4 plow trucks a year. Well, I'm sorry, at $330,000 a piece, I think that if we bought 3, we would probably still have safe streets. If we go from a 7-year to an 8-year replacement cycle, aren't we still better than we were before we started this program? We had trucks that were 20 years old, for Christ's sakes, not that long ago. What's the harm in getting a 7 or 8-year-old truck and saving the taxpayers $330,000? I understand that the department head and many of you feel that 4 truck replacement cycle, please don't get your foot off the gas. We need to be committed to that. We need to stay committed to that. Well, that's great when we're doing well. We're not doing well. I'll take $330,000 back any day, folks. I'll take $60,000 from a DSS SUV back any day, folks. So I'm gonna apologize for the second time today and hope that I don't affect any of the relationships I built with you, because I'm going to be a little bit more unfiltered this year. But what I hope it's for a good cause. I hope that we can have some candid conversations and know that some people will be negatively affected. Some department heads will be mad at you. Promise. It's an absolute promise. I will have a couple department heads that won't want to even talk to me when I'm done. But I'm not doing my job for you or the taxpayers if we don't look at everything. I feel like for 3 years I beat the drum on the carpool and I can't get traction, and I don't understand why. That's just I wanted to continue the conversation we started at personnel this morning and just kind of let you know that things are as bad as Brian says they are. Let's put it that way.
I got the employment schedule for the last 10 years. 10 years ago, we had just gotten rid of Pleasant Valley. We're now a bigger operation than we were when we ran the nursing home. So I know that we shouldn't need 182 people over those 10 years. But I do get there's caveats that we have pools of people, we have SPOs at the school. We've paid sheriffs to cover towns. Some of those things add up. I figure maybe 32 of them out of the 182, so there's 150. We got to take a big chunk out of that 150. I don't know that we can take a third of it, but it might be a goal. And I think we can take 20, and there might be 10 that are open. So I think there's an opportunity to get there. I just have to see the full picture. I have to wait and see when this position budgeting gets up and going, that I can look at each position and go through them. And I'll need to talk to department heads on what their needs are and what they can't fill, and get that money out. And actually going back and watching last year's meetings and hearing people tell about, well, I haven't had this one, or I haven't had that one, and you're like, well, then why do you keep budgeting for them if you're not getting them? I know you'd like them, but it seems like you're surviving. And we're headed back to survival mode, and believe me, I like thriving mode. We've never quite got there. But we, right now, might need to save ourselves, meaning the taxpayers of Washington County. We might need to throttle back to be at a percentage that they can live with, and we aren't taking their houses. That's a concern.
But I don't think anyone disagrees with you. We're in deep doo doo, so to speak. I think that we have to be cautious about the approach and not just take a shotgun and just shotgun every go. We need to be focused on what we're doing.
Needs to be a
And I
scale.
think we have to start with what programs we can eliminate. Maybe we'll gain 15 or 20 people from that. I don't know. But there are certain things that we can't cut because we're delivering services.
But like
So
Jim
five
said,
ways to-
we can be more efficient at it. That's what he said on Friday, and he's right. Just because they're mandated doesn't mean we don't have to be efficient at it. We can be more efficient.
That's process driven.
Scott.
I don't wanna take credit for this, one of my friends from the north came up with this, but if we just say this is what we could budget for this, all these Band-Aids, and say we're not paying anymore, what happens?
We won't stick to it. We'll cave and give them whatever they need when they run out of money. I've seen that happen before, but I like the approach.
The list you said from the sheriffs, I hate to say it, that should all be paid for. That shouldn't cost the county anything.
Right, it just shows, nobody shows more on the employment list, and that's what I was referring to. There's like 32 that you almost can't count because either there's revenue paying them or they're a pool and you only grab them when you need them, and it actually saves us money. So that was kind of the point I was making, but thanks for clarifying.
I'd like to go, I guess, one step further and put equally as much energy into changing our revenue in this county. We always talk about cutting, right? And being more efficient, which I think is a great idea. But the fact is, we need more revenue in this county, and we don't seem to really put much energy into that. I mean, I don't think we want to be where we are for the next 20 years, right? But we seem to always be happy with just being where we are.
I'm hoping to have great news next month, but I can't tell you
Okay.
for sure.
I hope so.
It's to Melissa's point though, it's bigger than any one project.
Yes.
Our philosophy here, when I think about the businesses that we as a county have turned away, some of you at the town level, right? When you think about some of the economic development that we've chosen to opt out of, for whatever reason, right? Some of us like the rural communities that we live in, and I get that. But there is a cost to living that lifestyle. So one of the messages that we have to have for our taxpayers, if you're not willing to have economic development, there's a cost to living the lifestyle that we live. Right? So Melissa's not wrong. Until we can find centers and sectors where growth can happen. You know, we've got businesses, if I remember our conversation correctly, we have businesses in the town of Salem that are closing because of infrastructure, correct? That's not okay. I don't care how small or big the business is. They're closing due to infrastructure needs. We can't, even when we have a big box store that wants to come in, Granville has seen big box stores come in and leave. We've got, in Whitehall, we had an opportunity that we missed out. In Kingsbury, we had an opportunity that we missed out. I can't say we, because I'm not the 18th supervisor, regardless of what I'm accused of. You all have a vote, right? You all get to carry the message from your town to this table. So you have to find out from your constituents, do you want us to encourage economic development and look into where we can do that? Or did you move to Washington County because it's a rural environment, and with that rural environment will come a cost? Right? Those are legitimate conversations you can have with your taxpayers. There's a quality of life cost some of them will agree to pay. To not have the big box store in their backyard, right? And you all can only do that with your constituents, and then bring that message here. That's where this structure of government works best, right? Sometimes it's frustrating to have a board of supervisors, because a lot of you are town centric. But one of the beautiful things about a board of supervisors is that you're town centric, right? What makes you frustrating also makes you great, because you get to bring here the thoughts and needs of your town constituents. And I really like that. It may frustrate me sometimes, but that feedback is exactly what we should be doing.
But I think if we look at what Laura's done, planning has done with tourism, been a great change over the years. If anyone took time to look at that column they put together, I mean, that's a fantastic piece of work. I mean, that's something that, you know, the more I read it, the more I find that went into it. There was a lot of work went into that. And I think that we talk about some a little bit later applies to the situation, but we have historically been bad at making economic decisions. Going back to where the vote was taken, where 87 was supposed to come right up past here. We decided we didn't want it because we wanted the agriculture. Maybe one lane could have gone here and the other lane could have gone.
And I encourage you all, if you can attend the government ops meeting, because I think that's where it's going. Laura took me on a little field trip recently and had a discussion with a company that used to be the Project Ticonderoga about land banks. I was extremely surprised and grateful for her basically clubbing me over the head and saying, please have an open mind. Because that was a really good meeting. And I thought that the Hurrell Herring, or not Hurrell Herring,
I know what you're talking about, the taxes.
I thought the new tax law was gonna preclude us from even considering land banks. So the Hennepin decision, I thought, made land banks obsolete. It was a very interesting conversation with some very intelligent people up there about how it's actually maybe made them more necessary, not less. And we'll get to have great conversations about, you know, we've got some blighted properties in Salem that Supervisor Clary had been begging me for 4 years to please, with my hands tied, we may have found a way to untie my hand, right? That conversation is gonna come, I think we're going to government ops, right, to open the conversation.
We're actually waiting to hear back from Nicole on a couple of issues that she's researching, and then it'll go to whatever committee we decide.
Ag planning, okay, so coming soon to a theater near you is gonna be a discussion about land banks and whether or not they're still relevant, and whether or not there's still something that you would even entertain. I was very glad for having made the journey, to be honest with you.
We're gonna get more opportunities and we're gonna need them because we're not in a great situation. But we always get there, so I assume we will. Okay, I think we'll go right in order, and anyone can tell me if we missed anything. The resolutions. Starting with the Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistant Grant. So move. Second, by Dave, second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
He is to amend the budget for the jail kitchen overtime, just an oversight, I think, in getting anything on the overtime lines. Move by Dave, second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. D is the sheriff for power DMS software. So, moved by Dave, second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. D is public health, Alzheimer's disease and related dementia diagnosis grant. So,
Second.
made by Dave, second by Daryl. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. E is Public Health for Chronic Disease Self-Management Program. Moved by Jim, second by Daryl. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried. F is assigned counsel for family court costs. Moved by Dave, second by Charlie. Any discussion?
This is a Band-Aid, folks. This is not the number. Just throwing that out there. You'll see this number again, maybe 3 times.
Going back to personnel and the backfills, the different positions, the attorney, different departments. You know, if they're not available in our county departments, we send them to assigned counsel.
Right.
And at that point, that number becomes, who knows where it goes?
Yep.
You know, it's all like that psychiatric expense. There is a bit over just to the other. I think we need to start thinking about what.
And that hasn't actually changed. The price changed to where people decided they'd rather be assigned counsel than be a public defender. That's really what changed that, because the mechanism works the same exact way it did. They just doubled the price of them per hour.
That's not gonna change. No. So it's up
Right.
to us to find-
Yeah, no, it's the policy that's the problem, and the state keeps throwing more policies that do us more harm, and then they do good. It's,
So we still know what the policy is, so we can.
yes,
Or we can look for a solution.
and we've heard of all sorts of solutions, but nothing that saves us money yet. We've seen some where we hire more people, do more work, and we break even, and that in the long run, the legacy cost would be more than it was worth, so those are a problem. Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Maybe no.
Opposed? You're a no? Did you say no?
Further discussion possible?
Yes.
So when we pay the outside counsel, what that doesn't obligate, I guess, to is their insurance infringement. So the real differential number is an interestingly different number.
Yes.
And problem is we don't pay lawyers enough. So they jump and they still have to pay for their own retirement and all this aside. So the real differential is not that. It's about 2.5 man years. We figured out the other day. You go to outside counsel. So we probably would need to keep 2 more lawyers in-house and we have half a year of counsel outside. And that's kind of the way it's been, but when we have more people jumping because it can make 14 to 20% more net outside, we're gonna leave.
Well, and what skews that is then the conflict, because you can add 2 more people and they still all conflict, so you still have to go out and get more people. That's where we really end up. Which
That's
is,
interesting.
it blows it way out of the water.
So my compensation plan for the attorneys, that was unfortunate. But again, I don't know what I don't know. When I had a conversation with the district attorney, he just made me aware that while he would appreciate all the attorneys in the county getting because my question to the board was, if we pay more to retain and recruit, can we drop that assigned counsel number? The district attorney broke my heart a little bit when we talked, because it was his opinion that you would still have so many that conflicted out regardless of whether or not you had, even if we were full staff, there's so many cases that are gonna conflict out that you can't control.
Yeah.
That was my understanding from his response.
And it's like if the conflict is like with Mike himself, it like precludes everybody that's on his whole office.
If Mike's got a conflict, his office is precluded. If I've got a conflict, my office is precluded. If Tony's got a conflict, his office.
It's a hell of a racket, Charlie.
Full staffing Mike, like I dreamed would be effective, isn't accurate, because even Mike full staff, the conflict that arose before would still be a conflict.
The issue's been one of the discussions we had potentially was going to
Conflict attorney's office.
conflict attorney's office,
Right.
which is still gonna be, you're gonna need a minimum 4 people. I think a bare minimum, which the other thing is you could also contract it out to a certain degree, which Ills is very much against.
We used to do that.
Yeah.
We used to contract out
I
Like
would like to
prison
call them
cases and parole
ills.
field.
Ills is better than ILS. They're ill.
Yeah, I mean, 2004, I was a conflict defender for, myself and Garfield Raymond were the two conflict defenders, and granted, that was 2004, but I think we both did it for, what, about 80,000 between the two of us. Mine was 40 and now what his was.
And it was really effective, not only fiscally. You had guys that like Garfield, he did a lot of the prison cases. Like he
Basically, he did the prison cases, I was his backup, I did the neglects, the support violations, and he was my backup, or if there was, after it got past me, the next person that went to was him.
they were definitely effective contracts.
And so what really throws the whole thing out of whack also is there's caseload limits on the public defender and the conflict office. There's none on assigned counsel or the DA, so they can handle twice as many so the bigger we build the office, the caseload enters and they just make you build it bigger. And they send you money to enhance building it bigger. Even the last, well, it was Teams, it wasn't Zoom. Last Teams meeting we had, the whole thing was about expansion. And ILS is putting money everywhere. They want everything to expand because they can't spend their money fast enough, but it's not helping our communities whatsoever. That's a problem. You're taxing the hell out of your community eventually because of what they had you build that you have no way of sustaining.
And they also limit it to criminal for the most part.
Yes.
Touching family court, which is
With the
with
bigger
conflicts,
problem.
the bigger problem.
Yeah.
The other problem is there's such competition for attorneys in the public, in the private sector, that we can't afford to pay the promises they give to their employees. Right out of law school.
Yeah,
Look at you, how long did you last? One lasted what? One person lasted what, week and a half?
2.5.
You had to bring that up.
Well, I mean, it's true. It is. And, I'll flat out say that, if, I took Mr. Nolan's 5% to heart. I took a look at my budget. As Al knows, I tried to find a couple other ways to, carry things over, for lack of a better term. And I can tell you right now, if I'm gonna make a 5% cut, it's gonna have to be vacant attorney position. So, which, if I have to do it, I have to do it. But it'll probably cost me the interim position as well, because when Tim leaves, depending on if and when I fill the deputy position, I've got the other attorney in my office has 7 months experience, and supervise an intern, you have to have at least 2. So if I get an intern, I'm gonna be the one doing the supervision. And I know this board asked me when I was interviewed, try to cut back on my court caseload, and I can tell you, if I only have a 3 attorney office, that's not gonna happen. I'll do the best I can, but that's gonna be the way, can we do it? Yeah,
And
we've done it for the last 4 years.
And that's the problem across the board. The ones that are really holding it tight, holding the line suffer, and the ones that have never held the line, they just keep on going. So that's why that approach really has never worked out fast.
If I have to do it, I have to do it. That's where we're at.
I believe we're on G.
You can vote on, you don't vote on.
I thought we did
Yeah, with 1 no.
Okay.
We had one now.
Right.
Okay, mental health, 100% state aid.
Yeah, that's going to us all over.
Move on, Daryl. Second. Dave. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Carried.
I've got a question.
Yep.
On these last 2, state aid, partial rate funding, state aid, mental health. The state's gonna pay for that?
Yes. Thank God.
And you get to the next one.
H, mental health for psychiatric expense. This one they're not paying.
So this is I'll move it, yeah, you move it. Okay, we'll move it for discussion in a second.
Go ahead, discussion.
So remember at the last board meeting, we kind of picked one to kind of focus on. And this was the one. So the idea is that we,
Keep getting it to the full board to get notoriety.
yeah, we can kill it in committee, but in the sense of better message if we kill it at the full board.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Is to amend the workers' compensation fund to purchase AEDs for the highway barns. So moved. Moved by Dave, second by, any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. J is to amend the staffing pattern entitled grade schedule for emergency medical provider. This one we just discussed the personnel. Moved by Daryl, second. Dave, any discussion? No issue.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Yeah, I think we did the sunset amendment.
Yeah, with the
With
sunset.
the sunset. Yes, I get you up to add that.
And the motion to amend it.
Motion to amend it.
Second. Moved by Jay, seconded by Jim. Sunset on March 31st, I think was what we said. Okay, motion on the amendment. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And now back to the original as amended.
Aye.
Carried. K is to amend the staffing pattern entitled by grade schedule for the nutrition service specialist part-time. So moved by Dave, second by Jim. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
And consistent.
We got the workers' compensation. This is what will be in the budget if it's approved. So we need to approve that to move that forward.
This is basically a numerical representation of the local law that you have in place on how it will be, how. The way that it's derived, you have set in local law. This is the numerical representation of that local law.
So an example for Putnam would be committed to $17,830.
Yes.
Need a motion?
So we,
Moved by Daryl, second by Jim.
Remember the way that the workers' comp works for the towns, it's added to the tax bill in January. And what's frustrating for you all, the workers' comp assessment is added to the town-wide rate. So when you tell your taxpayers that you have a 1 or 2% increase and the bill comes out and it's like 4, a lot of times you find out that the difference is the workers' comp assessment that we levy on you that you have no control.
All in favor, say aye.
aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, going back here. The sewer district bonding, I don't know where we got on that.
Larry and Kevin are working on it. You won't have it for today, but we're hoping you'll have it for Friday. Larry has a lot of questions.
So there's nothing for us to move to the full board or the Joe?
Well, I don't think you'll want to move a seeker and a bonding resolution you haven't seen.
That we haven't seen.
But they should be available for the packet for mail on Friday.
Okay,
And if best case, will be available Friday.
worst case, it's all coming to you.
Worst case, you're gonna see them from the floor and you'll see probably Larry anyway. It's a board meeting to go over the seeker.
He's gonna walk us through it.
Think we missed anything else on that agenda. I think everything else was in the resolution. Is that correct, Deb?
You're holding on the buildings and ground, they don't need them this. The
Oh, we don't need those.
campus study and the Point Avenue project.
For going, we definitely don't need, I'm not sure the status of the campus feasibility.
Well, if we haven't got it, we can't really move on.
But we have to approve expenditure for the survey or for the study.
But we didn't have the hard contract, did we, on the study, or did we?
I don't think at buildings and grounds, we were ready to move on it.
I thought we were, he brought it to committee.
Yes.
134,000.
4,000, right?
Yeah, I think it was, wasn't it coming, was the money for that coming from the reconciliation of the other funds?
That's what I
Like
thought,
money left.
within the
They
capital
pays
plan.
and ready then.
So until you get the money in the capital plan from closing some things out, it might not be available. Maybe that's.
Well, that's where I thought we were, we weren't ready to move on yet because of funding.
Right, because we haven't
But
closed
that's what I
out
thought.
anything yet.
I think he asked for it,
We don't have the money.
but I don't think we're ready to fund it.
So very good. So I think we're all set there. Is there any other business? Anybody have any?
David does.
He does. So if you remember back about a year ago, we lobbied for having money put in the budget for counties who lost for prisons and everything else. So, Laura has been trying to figure out what the program was. So we couldn't find any answers, so I talked to Steve Aquario, who set up a meeting with the budget director to discuss this. And in that meeting, they talked about how they're gonna talk about needing to set up the plan for it. They hadn't yet at this point. What they did ask for is to take, we sent them about a year ago and restructure those based on economic needs. And if we go back to our qualifications last year, it was those that Bob sent out and emailed everyone with information, was they had the engineer studies ready to go. And these are the ones we came up with. There was one project in there that we took out because it wasn't strictly economic development, it was more towards better use of sludge. But the group who started before, been through it, looking at it, we came up with these recommendations. Is number one is project F1A. That will have a big impact on the entire county in terms of that's served by the sewer district for industry and houses. There's limitations now because of the storm separation needs. They're getting it out. This is a major one. The second one was project FE1A. I think we just closed that capital plan not too long ago. But that was in it. We put it in as number two. Reverse the order. Number two was HF1A. FE1A was there. The third one is Town of Salem for sewer. There's some discussion about why that was put in there. Because they are losing businesses and they have interest in growing, but they need sewer. We had originally put the village of Whitehall in there for sewer and mostly sewer, but the infrastructure needs have shifted from sewer to water. My understanding from what Bob said was that the Whitehall Sewer District is fully funded. We talked to Whitehall about that, so that's fully funded. Water is still an issue. Village of Argyle, $15 million. That was that order. And the last one was Town of Granville for North Granville Water District. So we have no idea what they're gonna fund, if they're gonna fund. I would say that I think that the feeling of the group coming out of there was that our comfort level that they're at least gonna try and do something went up from 10 to 50%. So we need to get this list to them. And we'll see what happens there. In closing, the budget director said that we'll have 7 more meetings concerning this, so that's all we gotta say. There's no promises, no nothing. And these are listed by priority, James? Listed by priority. You looked at the economic impact of every single project. Which is why the sludge project got that dropped, because it really didn't have any. You know, we did a lot of research on this, a lot of good work on it.
You know, I talked to the engineers on all 3 of the town local projects. Just to basically get confirmation and updates from them that they had the most accurate updated information. Again, as Dave said, we do not yet know whether this is going to go into some kind of program. The language in the state budget is very, very vague. What they asked us for was specifically capital projects that would lead to economic growth that were fairly far down the ready to grow track. We don't know that they're necessarily going to fund any of these or how they're going to handle it, but we were asked for examples so that they could factor it into however they're going to develop their programs.
Any questions?
No, it's just comment. Thank you very much for this. This is a great start. And you gotta have a plan, whether or not we have funding for it.
It was a discussion of the group, but I don't want to speak for the group. So it was a discussion of the group to make sure that all of you got a chance to see this, right? You hear some of the, some of the comments about, well, who made that decision? Well, once the small group took the data that you sent to the chairman and collated it into this, we wanted to do one more step to make sure that you all were comfortable, that there's nothing on the sheet that stood out to you as like, oh, heck no, right? So full transparency wise, to not include the full board, I think would be a mistake. So that's why you're seeing it here today, is to make sure there's nothing on this sheet that makes you queasy.
None of these, all these on the list were on the list we originally sent out by the board.
Yeah.
They're ones you sent to the chairman originally.
No, and the priority looked about right. We get these synergies, particularly in the top three, right? Because we nest with the closer to the capital region.
And I think that even the state may nest on the top three. They may look at those top three and tell us to pick one.
We just don't know.
I'm not as warm and fuzzy as some of the members of the group.
We took our president, they should give us some more. That is,
They have $100 million to do statewide. The chances of us getting a large pound of that are small.
five right there.
Just don't
Yeah.
know.
We just don't know. You forgive me if I'm not optimistic.
Doesn't mean that they couldn't guide some of these programs to other grant opportunities in the state versus $100 million. We don't know where the money's coming from. Based on the language of the budget. Sort of nebulous. They could reach in some other areas and pull money out too, we just don't know.
It wouldn't have been quite a beat for Bob's words today.
There was a commitment by the state, though, to try to remove any barriers that precluded us from applying for the monies.
Yeah.
That commitment, I was surprised to hear and happy to hear.
The language he used was non-competitive. And non-competitive.
Interesting choice of words.
And reduce the amount of requirements required to get the money. You just don't know what it is. It's a developing program.
And that could be just to give it to somebody else. So we don't really.
Well, it's
Nobody's
interesting,
picking
the
favorites,
budget,
right?
it'd be really interesting, the budget director also said this was one of their top priorities. No, he didn't say Washington County.
Yeah.
Please,
This program is a part of
this
the
program. I said he didn't say Washington County.
Okay, anything else to come before the board? Or adjourn? Thank you.
I'll spark by